Hi, this is Mathias
Hey, and this is Jussi.
and we are from the Finnish band Turisas, coming to you here in Tokyo. I think in the time when we started out the band in '97, actually, we felt that we were the music we were writing. We were very inspired by folklore and Scandinavian, especially Finnish mythology and stuff like that, and that had a sort of very big role in our songs. So we wanted a name that sort of represented that, and I think the God of War really suited the music we do in a good way. So we picked that, and we also wanted a band name that didn't sort of mean anything as such, like, I don't know, Lamb of God, for instance. It's just Turisas. That's a Finnish word, and it doesn't mean anything for a Japanese or a French person. So that's kind of cool. It's just something of its own. Finnish mythology, all in all, is very obscure, and in contrary to, for instance, Greek or even Swedish and kind of Norse mythology, which is very well sort of preserved and written down and everything. In Finland, no one knew how to write or anything, so it's kind of got lost so badly that no one really knows a lot about it. But they go through these things in school a bit, and it's more about the sort of folklore kind of tradition and songs and that kind of thing.
Oh well, when we started we didn't really know how to play any instrument, so it was just more like we started band for fun, and we kind of learned how to play and involve in that sense. And when the first album came out, I think that's one of like the main highlights for our band since. And now we are releasing our fourth album this year, later on this year, so let's see where that leads us. Hopefully see more cool places, like Japan is a really cool place to be, and we have seen quite nice places on our career already.
I guess that's sort of the highlight in itself, is that you get to travel the world and see a lot of nice places. I mean, this is our third time in Japan now, and it's always like we are always excited to come back here because it's such a unique place. Yeah. And we just did our first South American tour this year, which was also really great when you get to a place where you haven't been before, and now we're sort of really hoping to get back there at some point again. So step by step now, when we release our next album, we'll pretty much be able to tour on every continent, and that's great. It wasn't really planned in any kind of marketing way or anything like that. It was actually done when we had only released our debut album, and already at that time we were doing some headline shows as well, and having only one album, we only had maybe 45 minutes of songs to play, so we had to sort of come up with covers and stuff to make a headline set. And that was actually an idea that had existed even from earlier. I remember there's this ferry that runs between Helsinki and Stockholm, which is pretty crazy sometimes because people go there and party a lot and drink a lot, and if you're only traveling in one direction and only want to travel, it can be a bit annoying because everybody else is just going crazy and drinking and partying. But I was sitting there in a bar, and they had a sort of cover band who was playing all kinds of 70s, this kind of disco hits, and when I heard that song, it sort of struck me that could work really well as a cover song. But it was only years after, maybe in 2005 or so, when we started sort of playing it live at first, and then it became so popular as a live song that we wanted to record it as well, and so we did. We're not taking ourselves like way too seriously, but it's a serious band, and we don't want to sort of slip into starting to make kind of funny stuff that the crowd wants to hear, kind of crowd pleasing kind of thing. And it's, we have stayed clear from trying to do the same thing again, because that wouldn't be kind of the same. That would be kind of feel a bit sort of cheap in a way to, I don't know, cover Volga or something like that,
We don't actually have a release date yet.
Yeah,
and we have kind of no album name exactly. We have kind of idea still. We are working. Kind of everything is really at the last minute at the moment. We are in the process of making those decisions every day now. But
yeah, I mean it was supposed to come out earlier, but then when we left on tour in January and we were touring for like 2 months in one go, things got a bit delayed, and we only finished the mix of the album before coming here like a week ago. We mixed it in London. It's 9 songs, and it's gonna come out in the end of August, I think.
Okay.
So it's been pushed back the release date, but that's all cool. It's a very diverse album. It has all the songs are very different, and right now when we've been traveling here, flying from China to Japan and so forth, listening to the songs and have to decide the song order, and it's proving very difficult because all the songs are so different. It's hard to sort of, how do you make an album that sort of sticks together really well, because in the past we had songs that were sort of composed into a historical concept or something like that, so every song had its place even before the album was done. So I think every album we've done, there's been sort of an evolution, and we never wanted to really repeat the same formula. Even if we saw that something was kind of successful or worked well, we never wanted to do that again, because I think with everything we've done, the kind of key to success has always been for us that we've always sort of done something that people don't really just expect, but something more. And this album, I think, stands out from the ones we've done in the past even more. It's very diverse. It has very sort of epic songs to it, but it also has that more kind of band playing together vibe to it. We didn't want to make it too huge, and we had some lineup changes in the band as well, so now we have a very tight and a very, very professional, good band with a very high level of musicianship, and we wanted to bring that to the album as well, and that's why we did a lot of the stuff like drums and stuff like kind of aimed on the first take and that kind of thing, to give it a bit more live, and we didn't want to edit too much and kind of be careful to not clean up all the edges or around it, and you know, the outcome is really good. I think we have a very romantical idea of the past always, like whatever it is, even how we present things ourselves, but we realize that the sort of culture and the idea of history we have is a very sort of romantical idea of the past, and I think if we came to Tokyo or wherever for even like 100 or 200 years ago, we would be a bit sort of how dirty and how messy and how kind of terrible everything is, and we would just want to go back home to our nice modern Western lives. Well, I think Jakku, the drummer, he's very tall, so I think he could be like a giraffe or something. He's kind of like, he's taking it easy and not too stressed up about things, so he's like a giraffe. He's tall and just walking around.
I think Jesper looks a bit like a badger, but badgers are not that active.
Yeah.
He's really hyperactive.
Jesper, the bass player, is very hyperactive all over the place.
Yeah.
So Olli, the violin player, well, he's quite something.
He could be kind of an insect.
Yeah, maybe like he's sort of very. Sometimes it's very stressful to be around him because he's sort of like, he has so much energy and just going on about things all the time, and I don't know, or some sort of bird that's just going crazy. I don't know. Bob, the keyboard player, a dog or something. He's very fun to be around with, and he's a very social guy, and you know, makes us all laugh all the time. So yeah. And for us, Jussi could probably be, I don't know, maybe some sort of a fox who's sort of just, you know, doesn't necessarily always need to sort of make a lot of noise about himself, but sort of has a lot of thought going on all the time, and then at the right moment steps forward and sort of points out smart things.
Only thing about you, you have kind of bad eyesight sometimes. What is this? The animal that lives in the cave? Mikä on vittu? Näyllä. Ei patch, se toinen sana. He's kind of, he always gets around with everything, and kind of in this band especially, being kind of in the leadership position and still being so he can kind of handle every person in the band and be a kind of a peacekeeper in a way also.
Maybe a lion?
Yeah, if especially in a Disney version.
Disney
when lions are always the kings in the Disney movies. So.
I think as countries, China and Japan are pretty different. Like they are, of course, they share some similar cultures. Like for us, coming from the West, you know, Eastern food is, to us, seems a bit, they sort of like similar things. But then again, I think even in food, China is sort of more deep fried and that kind of thing, and Japanese has that more sort of maybe healthy aspect to it. And Japan in all ways seems so much more organized and but when it comes to the live market, I guess in Japan it's been something that's been done for decades and decades already, and in China it's kind of, they're just starting out, and now all of a sudden they have all this technology and they're kind of like raising up to be a modern country so fast that maybe they kind of, sometimes they get lost themselves, but they try hard and want to learn very, very badly, and they now all of a sudden they have all this money and all this technique to do things. So, but it's still a bit sort of, here everything is very sort of organized, and there everything is a bit sort of chaotic at times. What we kind of expected the first time we went to China was in 2010, and we didn't really know what to expect because we'd never been there, of course. And we sort of had seen like the very old, like when the Japanese music market started, like in something like the 70s, when the rock bands started coming here, like Deep Purple or something, and they were playing concert to seated audience who would clap very politely between songs. That's something that we maybe expected, not from Japan, but maybe in China, because it was a totally new country. But no, it was completely, they're rocking out and going for it exactly like here in Japan as well. They are very enthusiastic here as well. I think you see it more maybe when you meet with the fans afterwards. I think in Japan the fans are very polite and kind of keep their distance in a way, and they're not so aggressive in a way. And maybe in China it's a bit more like the same way as in Europe, in Scandinavia and places like this, people are a bit more sort of, they're interested, but they're not sort of like in Mexico where fans can be very sort of intensive in a way. A few things first comes to mind: food. Everything is so fresh and so prepared so nicely, and it's not only about getting your stomach full, it's about the experience and about how they put everything on the plate and everything, like the whole visual side to it, and everything is so detailed, and I think that actually reflects a lot of other things in Japan, that they sort of want to do everything very nicely and have a very sort of good, a lot of respect for sort of visual and that sort of nice thing. So everything you see here is very clean, and it's very, the design is very sort of, everything is done very sort of fully, like 100% in a way.
The best thing there is just go outside and watch people. It's kind of,
yeah, it's like being in a fashion show all the time, because everybody, like, it's not about only the craziest things, but just the normal Japanese as well. People are so stylish and they put a lot of effort into. The funniest thing about this tour was our bass player Jesper and his hangover after they had been out in some very traditional party street in Shanghai the night before we were flying here yesterday morning. and getting back to the hotel only to get their stuff and come straight on the bus to the airport. And he was suffering at the airport. Music Finland, by setting up this event in Tokyo year after year, you know, it's a very great thing to be here and appreciate it a lot. It's rare that in many countries we tour, they are very surprised to hear that we have this very sort of strong support, organized support for export bands in Finland, and for us it's obviously great because it allows us to come to places like Tokyo and do shows which probably wouldn't happen without that kind of organization and effort from their end. So it's great to be here and hopefully see you soon. But the new album is going to be out in August, and if you're in Europe, see you at festivals and
hopefully get back in Japan soon.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.